Hey, good evening. Hello, hello. Hello. If you guys are listening, can you hear me good? I just want to make sure. I'm using my headset tonight because I was told that I usually just use my computer mic and it doesn't sound good. So let me know if you can hear me. Hello. I'm assuming you can hear me. There's always a lag if people are commenting. Thank you, John. Thanks, Dusty. Hey, Brett. I'm locked up. There we go. Okay, fantastic. We will get started because I don't want to hang out here too long talking about nothing. Our snow melted. I am going to talk about that. That is the best news all week. Snow is almost gone before Halloween. So that's even better yet. Hi, Nate. I can't win, dude. I can't win. It's almost my bedtime too, Nate. So what happens when you get old? Steve, that's a good question. I think when I'm top fans on other people's pages, I do believe that it asks you if you want to be a top fan. And then you say yes, and then it gives you the little symbol. I know you're a top fan without being a top fan. Hey, Michael. Okay, let's get to it. So this week, we had a lot of good meetings, and I had a little bit of a theme going this week with people just not really educated on finance. They read the book and they understood the gist of it, right? But we really had to get down to the basics of just finance. And it was, I don't want to say eye-opening because I know people don't understand finance, but we didn't understand even what a CD is. And it was not just women. My first two of the week were women tend to have well, I shouldn't say that. Women don't tend to have anything because it's a 50-50 split as far as I'm concerned. But one party tends to not understand finance and allows the other party to just take it, no big deal, don't need to know about it. The one client that I had this week, she read the book, and it's a family operation. She read the book, but doesn't know anything about finance, which I found very intriguing because that does not happen often. But she really didn't know anything about finance. But she read the book, she's listened to some of this stuff, And so her husband is always very reluctant to do anything. So she was going to check it out first and then share it with him. In that situation, it was very interesting because her father-in-law has a lot of money from whatever he did for his career. So he has a lot of money and basically gives all the money to the farm, and the son and daughter-in-law work on the farm. And that's what they're going to inherit someday because they're making it go. Dad's the bank, basically. Kids are farming. But dad doesn't share the information, the financial information with the kids. No idea. Making money, not making money. He says it's not making money, but he keeps putting money in so he can keep avoiding taxes, right? So, oh, it's not making money. Okay, so when they take over, how are they supposed to know? Like, don't know anything. The husband understands money, but he wants to be working. He wants to be out doing the farm stuff. He doesn't want to be hassled with the money. And so what happens when mom and dad die? Like, what happens? Because mom doesn't do anything with money because dad does it all, right? And so trying to get that understanding and say, you may not need to see it, but you need to ask for it. Because if something happens to him tomorrow, we don't know if it's making money. We don't know where he's spending money that doesn't need to be. Kids are being super frugal and making sure that when dad passes, they're going to have what they need. But then they have stuff to buy out from the other siblings. And it was a lot. And just getting her to a position, the daughter-in-law, just getting her to a position where she could really feel comfortable understanding how money works, because she doesn't like it, it's intimidating, it's scary, and that's how a lot of people feel. And I'll just let somebody else take care of it, or I won't take care of it at all because I'm hyperventilating over the fact of money. And I know this is kind of funny, but I call it PTSD, financial PTSD. And so if any of you have been in a position where you have not had money, it has been super tight. Well, you've all probably been there. It's been super tight. You don't even want to look at your account because you have financial PTSD. You don't know if there's going to be money there. You don't know how to think about it. It's scary. But that doesn't give us a reason to say, okay, I'm not paying attention to it. And because they're going to have massive inheritance, it's even more important to understand what's going on, what's going to happen, what does this all look like? And they have some of their own stuff too. So it's not like they're just and they have off the farm jobs and all that good stuff. And so they're working a lot of hours to keep this thing going and build it. They really need to understand, while the banker is still alive, they need to understand, are we making money? Are we not making money? We need to share those books. We can't, it's like letting the bank run your operation. We can't do that. And kudos to them for knowing that. The kids know that. They're not wanting that, but that's what's happening. The big question for her was, because we have so much that we're going to have to buy out, how are we going to do that to alleviate the other kids? If there's a plan, now we have to buy the land before he passes away, and then we get his house. But we can't even afford the land right now. And so I'm like, well, can he finance all of it? Can he finance half of it now? And then you can plan to buy the other half upon his death. I mean, nobody says that you have to finance all of it. You can finance some of it. And so there were some options there. And I think that she's really concerned about it because she's been through this. Her mom passed away when she was 54, I believe she said, and totally healthy, busy lady, and all of a sudden passes away of a stroke. Her parents didn't have anything, no life insurance. So dad had to have an auction. Had the auction. Couple months later, in this whole couple months after mom passes away, dad has a heart attack, literally of a broken heart. And he's still alive. Now he's disabled from something else. But nonetheless, there was nothing. And so she has experienced, nobody has to fight over anything, to we're going to have to fight over millions of dollars. Or we're going to have to figure out how to transfer millions of dollars. And it's so awesome that they're thinking about it, they're looking into it, or at least she is concerned about it. But we need to have that one extra step of, you need to know what's happening with the operation you're working in if you're going to be inheriting that operation. The other thing that is super important here to understand is life insurance is important. Can you imagine not having life insurance and your spouse passes away and you now have to put everything up for auction because you didn't buy it and they were healthy? Really? That really isn't an excuse in my book. It's just, I see it way too often. I have a friend who is in her 30s and had to bury her father, her money, to bury her dad because he didn't have any life insurance. In her 30s. Seriously? Right? He's only in his late 50s, early 60s. No life insurance. You guys, you don't have to buy whole life. You can buy term. I don't even care if you don't buy it from me. Figure it out. Or do you really want to be the recipient of a GoFundMe account? Because that's what your family is going to be. There's going to be a GoFundMe account, and it's probably not going to cover everything that they need anyway. Okay, that was it on that one. But again, because money made her nervous. She is not a stupid person. Nobody that reads my books are stupid people. They just have not had to deal with it. And so we got down to the very, very, very basics because I want her to understand exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Because it's not, I could have sold something. I'm not selling anything. I'm teaching something. And it's important that we understand that. All right, the next guy, that was fun conversation. He got my book apparently I gave it to him at a gas station while I was traveling. I used to have Farming Without the Bank on my vehicle. And he saw that and asked me for the book. So I gave him the book. That was 5 years ago, right after I had written it. And he has no idea where the book is, but he had a dream. And in his dream, he saw the cover of the book and thought, well, it's probably time to call. And so that was pretty awesome. I got to talk to him, and he's got a lot going on. Nothing super earth-shattering that we used any cool strategies on, just basic information. The one thing that was interesting is I've had a couple clients like this that were growing hemp or started to grow hemp and had some bad contracts with some bad buyers. And so I've learned that you can't always trust whoever is saying that they're going to buy your specialty crop. All right, let's see what else we got here. I had another young couple, which is very interesting. She comes from a family operation. Doesn't sound like finances are run that great. And so they're very adamant that they're not going to do it that way. They both have businesses that they run. So they started farming a little bit and it didn't make sense. It was too far away. They didn't make any money. And so they quit and they are taking some time off, but he still has his combine. And so he's been doing some custom combining. But they really are just looking for a place to get started so that when they do start farming again, they have this pool of money. And we can use the business income to do that because they have very successful businesses. So that's good. Another guy, almost the exact same situation. He's not farming right now. He wants to farm and is in absolutely no hurry to do so. He just learned, he came across my book and he has been down the rabbit hole. And he is learning everything he possibly can about infinite banking. He is talking or listening to everything he possibly can, reading everything he possibly can. And so that's exciting because he's really wanting to learn it and willing to wait to capitalize that policy before he does anything, buys any land, plants. I think he wanted to do like a tree farm or something. He wants to do something like that. And so the one thing, I did have a couple of these this week, or even like in the last couple of weeks, they have talked to other agents. Now I don't get that often because people read my book and that it's a fit, right? Because I'm dealing with farmers. And so some people have been talking, or we have to wait 6 weeks to get in, and you don't want to wait 6 weeks to get in because you are excited and you want to start today. And so those people are looking to other agents. And what I'm finding is those other agents are not really digging in to their financials. They're not really giving strategies. They're not really explaining anything about the policy and how it works. And it's really unfortunate because people then come to me and they're like, oh, I saw some numbers. Well, give a crap about your numbers. It's not about the numbers. It's about the process. It's about the thought process. It's about how to use it, the strategies of how to use it, right? And so it's like, I get it. I get that we want to do that and everybody is free to do what they wish. But I am finding, and it's disappointing, and these are not IBC agents, but it's disappointing because you're not getting a full picture. I don't know how you can help somebody without really having the full picture of what they're doing. And so many times in meetings, I'll have like a young person and they're like, oh, I just want to talk about myself. Well, okay, great. But if you're taking over the farm, we're not going to just talk about yourself. Like, that's not how that works. I need to understand the big long-term picture because this is a long-term thing. It's not going to be here for a year or two and then gone. No. We have a long-term picture to look at. So that was kind of fun. And then we have, speaking of other agents, so then I had another client who actually has a policy structured correctly for infinite banking. And the agent that he used at the time was, knew a little bit about infinite banking. I know the guy didn't dive into it by any stretch of the imagination. So the policy was set up right. But ironically, this guy never would call the agent. He's like, oh, he's too busy. He doesn't know. There was no strategy. They didn't know anything about how it was structured, how it really worked. They knew the gist of it, but that was about it. So we have a policy that we're not even using, and we could be using. They didn't know that the premium was flexible. I mean, so many important things that are so unfortunate. And the most unfortunate thing is that the wife had no idea, none. And she sat in the meeting and I was explaining stuff and you could see, this is why I like you to have a camera on, because I actually do pay attention to your body language. And I could see that she was not understanding what I was talking about. And I asked her, do you understand it? And she's like, she looked at her husband and she said, you get it, right? And he's like, yep. And she's like, well, he gets it. And I said, that is not okay. That is absolutely 100% not okay. You need to understand this. So we started over. Different analogies. She too did not know what a CD was. A certificate of deposit. She did not know what that was. Why would you? If you are in your 30s and you've probably never been exposed to one, there's no reason to know that. And so I explained it and explained it, and I explained what a dividend was. Many people do not know what a dividend is. That is a share of the company's profit. And when we got all done, she said, Mary Jo, thank you for taking the time to explain that, because I get it now. And she did get it. She was like, so we can start another policy, and this is how the loans work. Like, once it clicked, she got it. And I said, I have done this before, you guys, where I have erased, I draw on my screen. If you've not met with me, I'll draw on my screen. I will erase everything and start over. Because everybody needs to understand. I am not there to have one person get it, and then when that person passes away, nobody else knows why they have it. Surprise, you have some death benefit. What do we do with it? And then you just trust me. No, absolutely not. I want you to understand. And so both of these women this week that we had understood exactly what I was talking about. I have a local client in the state of North Dakota, and they would drive to see me. And the wife would sit there and just nod. And I would ask her if she understood, and she would ask a question, and the husband would jump in and he would start answering the question. And she would back off and not say anything. And then I would get her to talk again, and he would do the same thing. And he doesn't know he's doing it, right? He understands it. And so I said to him, here's the deal. You're going to bring her to town. You're going to drop her off, and you are leaving my office. You are not allowed to be in the office anywhere. You must leave the facility because it's her and I, and we are going to talk about it without you interrupting. And he's like, okay. And he dropped her off, and she got it, and she understood it. And we had a great conversation because he wasn't trying to answer the questions for her. I could teach it in a very basic manner. Okay. And I am not going to say I'm the best teacher in the world, but I'm pretty darn good. I'm not going to lie. I'll pat myself on the back for that. Because I learn differently, I can get down to that level because I didn't know it all either. I've come from some of that level, right? And I care about money, and I've always been interested in it, so it makes it a little bit different. But when we have somebody that just lets somebody else take care of it because they're intimidated by it, we have to slow down and make sure that person knows what they're getting. Just the basics of money. What is a savings account? And how does it work? And what is compound interest? And this particular wife that they have a policy with the other agent said, Mary Jo, I didn't read your book because I thought I would be frustrated, so I didn't even start it. And I said, can you start it now? Because I really, truly wrote it so it's very easy to read and not frustrating. Because most people don't know anything about money. And so I'm anxious to hear if she reads it and how that all goes. But it was pretty awesome. And they are selling beef direct to consumer. So back on the farming side, they have seen a huge influx of beef to consumer, right? They can't keep up. They're scheduling beef to be butchered before it's even born. And so they have this great problem. And we really talked a lot about business strategy. How do we keep those clients? What do we do for marketing? How do we use Facebook? I'm happy to share all of my knowledge with anybody that's got a business and we're talking about how to grow their business and they're just learning all this stuff. And so we had a really great strategy session around that and really teaching her why these things are important. Because I feel like even though they're totally happily married, you could tell. But I feel like he's like, okay, you need to do this and this and this and this. But she doesn't really understand the why. And so if she doesn't understand the why, and nobody, it doesn't matter if it's him or her, if one party does not understand the why of what they need to do for marketing and ways to keep the business going, why would they do it? Right? Just because he told me to, okay, so I'm going to do that. And we also need to know the strength of the person that we're with. Is her strength social media? Is that something that she cares about? Maybe not. Then maybe somebody else needs to take charge of that. Maybe she shouldn't be doing it if it's not her love. That's why she's not thinking about it, right? So we really need to make sure that we are looking at all of those things, because a lot of times that gets neglected. This is your job. You're doing it regardless if you like it or not. But if you're not going to like it, you're not going to be good at it. Okay. I don't know, John, what percentage rates are on CDs. That's a bank question. I have no idea what they are. I suppose every bank is different. I don't know. The reason I brought CDs up, John, is because I compare it. When we're borrowing money, it's like having a CD at the bank and going to the lender's office and borrowing and using that CD as collateral. And so when I'm explaining it to somebody that doesn't understand what collateral even is, we have to, I try to find something that they can relate to. Okay, I had another family meeting. This one was a biggie. It was a biggie. I am not a licensed counselor. Let me just put that out there. I am not a licensed counselor. Thank goodness for Jolene Brown and Val Farmer, who are counselors, and I've learned a few things. So we had a really nice discussion of how do we hand the farm off. It's in an LLC, but Dad does not want to hand out over all the percentage because we don't really know why. Is Dad a control freak? Is his identity wrapped up in that farm? Is he scared that he's not going to be needed? Is he scared he's not going to have anything to do? Does he not have faith that the next generation can handle it? Another situation where, but the mother and the daughter-in-law are like, oh, they're a blessing to see. And so the books have to get handed off. That all has to get taught. There needs to be some transitioning going on there. And Mom understands that. Mom's okay. And Dad is not maybe so okay about it, frustrated about a few things. And we don't really know what. And causing some tension on a relationship. And so that has to get figured out because there's an actual transition plan. And the transition plan isn't going as planned, right? It's being stalled a little bit. But in this transition plan, we have millions of dollars of ground again, and we have off the farm siblings. And so in this transition plan, Mom and Dad's estate planner, whoever, I'm sure is a very nice person, sold them or told them to get term life insurance. So they've got some whole life, which is great, not a lot, there's some there, and they've got some term insurance. And we don't know when the term ends. And so that's fantastic if they die before the term ends. But if they don't die before the term ends, now the son needs to come up with just a couple $1 million. That's a big deal. That could be the difference between saving the farm and losing the farm. Term insurance is not a good policy, a good type of insurance for a long-term estate plan. Absolutely not. You are guaranteed to die. Absolutely guaranteed to die. And upon your death, if somebody needs to buy that out, term insurance is not the answer, because if you die before the term is up, okay, great, fantastic, great buy. If you don't, we don't have anything. They also had cash value in what they already had, which is also fantastic. And so they can utilize that to pay down some debt or do whatever. But the bank this is something too that they had a lot. These guys had a lot going on. The other thing that is happening is the bank is really coming down on them and asking for collateral that they don't need. Like, they've already got collateral for what they need, but they're asking for collateral for things they don't need and wanting to take more collateral. And it's not just them the way it sounds, but it most likely, if it goes and coincides with everything else I've seen, it's most likely a bank that has overlent and now commodity prices dropped and they don't have enough collateral on their books to offset their loans. And if the feds would come in, or if the feds are coming in, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're going to take collateral from the guys that have collateral, right? And so they're really fighting with the banks to keep the stuff out of collateral. There's not even a loan on it. So why do we need it? Why do we need to have it for collateral? So they have, there's a lot there. That was a good meeting. But again, a daughter-in-law who's taking over, who needs to get familiar with the books. Mom needs to hand that off. They need to just take the time to do it. And it's not that mom doesn't want to, because they're the sweetest people in the world. But it is a matter of the daughter-in-law has an off-the-farm job. And so she's working all the time. When do we get time to do the books? And another situation where mom said, I would rather, I'm going to quote her, I would rather be cleaning gutters than doing the book work. Well then, if that's the case, we need to get mom on a ladder and out of the office and find somebody else to do it, right? There was something else, let me look. There was something else with them. Oh, there was something else with them that was important. I'll think of it. Maybe. I'll think of it. Okay. So they have a lot going on. They've got some homework to do. Sometimes the best thing to do is just call a mediator. Just call Jolene Brown, right? These people knew who Jolene was, and they're like, oh, we would love to work with Jolene. If Jolene is the difference between saving a family farm and losing a family farm, I suggest you make that phone call. Jolene's pretty hard. I found out, in my interview with her, my little friend Jolene is 100% German as well. So there's not a whole lot of sugarcoating that goes on there. It was interesting though in this situation too. Guess who read the book? The daughter-in-law. The other three didn't read the book. By the time we were done with the conversation, I'm pretty sure I gave them a homework assignment that the book needs to be read. They need to understand the thought process. We went over a lot of what are they paying with cash and all those sort of things. Another lovely couple who are not sitting very well at the bank. And I don't see this very often, but I see it. They ask the bank for their balance sheet. They absolutely have no idea how much money is being spent on farming. He gave me his loans and they were not correct. We had to go back and forth. Things weren't making sense. The balance sheet was off. He didn't really even know what he owed because he's old school. And we just let the bank run the operation. And we don't let the bank run the operation. They need to run the operation. Another situation where he's handled the money and the wife is terrified of it, not interested in it. And so that was a tough meeting because I need to have numbers. We ran a lot of strategies, and the best strategy for them at this point to get rid of the bank and actually have their head above water a little bit is to refinance the land as long as they possibly can and rent it out. If they rent it out for less even than what rent is in their area, they will pocket. They'll make twice what the loan is for. So if their loan payment was like 45,000 or something, they were going to make like 90. And I said, and that doesn't mean you have to quit forever. It just means that maybe he's like, well, then I could go to work for a farmer. I said, you sure could. And you could be collecting a paycheck instead of worrying about the stress of how we're going to finance it, what we're going to collect for crop insurance, all this stuff, because they're in an area that is super, super wet. And so every year is an absolute challenge. So if we're not keeping our books and we're not paying attention to everything, just to get back on track, let's start positive. Rent it out, refinance it if you can. And so that, he's like, oh, can I get all that information to give to the bank that I'm working with? Well, the bank he is working with is helping him get the loan through a different lender and hoping to get the operating note. Well, if I just told them to quit farming and they take that advice, and we gave them 3 strategies, so they have 3 options. They can keep farming, they can refinance it a different way, keep farming, or they can refinance it and quit farming. But if they take option 3, I said the banker's not going to be very happy about that, because he's really hoping to make some interest off of a line of credit, and you're not going to be farming. So hopefully he'll still help you get the loan through this third party. So yeah, moral of the story, know your numbers. All you need is an Excel spreadsheet. Like, he's only farming about, like, it was like 1,500 acres or something. All you need is an Excel spreadsheet. You don't need fancy QuickBooks. You don't need all that stuff. Just put it somewhere where you can control it. You know where that money is going. Otherwise, how do you even know where the bank is putting it? What loan are they applying it to? I have seen situations where people don't know what they have for loans, and the bank just applies it, and it is a nightmare. Like, it's like they never get anything paid down. It is very, very scary. So pay attention. Know those numbers. All right. Hey, Doug. Let me see who's on here. Oh, hey, Brian. Well, thanks. Whoever your good friend is, tell them hi, and I appreciate it. You're welcome, Brian. Brian, maybe if I have clients who the bank won't release, they'll pay off a tractor, bank won't release it from collateral. And they have so much equity, it's ridiculous. They are making money. Like, there's no other reason except that the banks have overlent and they're using you as a scapegoat. I could be totally wrong. But I've heard it from insiders of the bank that the banks are in trouble. So, yeah. Hey, Brian. Oh, Brian says hi to everybody. Okay. Another guy read the book, listened to the podcast, read Nelson's book and said, hey, Mary Jo, page 40. Let me get the page number right. I'm pretty sure it's page 45. It's actually tomorrow's podcast topic, page 48 of Nelson's book. He's like, in page 48 of Nelson's book, he says that these policies should accommodate all of your income. Well, that's pretty good timing, because that is tomorrow's podcast. And so he really wanted to put everything in there, and he had it all figured out what everybody was going to need. But if we don't know how the policy is structured, and we have to verify everything, he says, so I feel like, Mary Jo, you're saying be conservative. And I said, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because I want to make sure that we never get in a position where we can't pay for it. And I really want to make sure that you understand, when you take a loan they're operating 100% on cash. And they have some farm ground and they have a construction business. And so they're operating 100% on cash. Great, we can put it in, but we don't get access to all of it. So if you need every red cent, that's maybe not going to work. And so we had a long conversation about how is that going to work. Then we need some life insurance on mom and dad, because the one thing that this guy had going that rarely do I see is he absorbed what was in here. He absorbed the podcast. He absorbed the book, my book. He said, I want this to be a family banking system. So my mom, my dad, myself, my wife, and my kids can borrow from it. And he said, do we keep it in an LLC? So if the family needs money, that's where they go. If the kids need to go to college, that's where they go. If we're going to use the money for missionary work, that's where we go. And he is looking long term. He is setting this up for his kids and grandkids who are not even alive yet. Long term. It is very, very rare for me to have somebody that understands exactly what Nelson is talking about. And I think that he may have got it differently because they have tree farm. They are constantly cutting timber, and they have to think 30 to 40 years. They're farming. They don't plant and harvest and have instant gratification. That's not how it works for them. And so they're in a completely different mindset than the rest of us. And that was really fun to have that conversation, because now if mom and dad pass away, we're going to take that death benefit and roll it to him, and then his grandkids will have it. And some of the land that his grandfather and great-grandfather had to sell, they should be able to buy that back. After we have a couple of generations of death benefit, they will have the money to do that. Right now, they don't have that money to do that. So that was fun. Then I had a couple of young brothers that are farming together, and they are not an LLC. They do everything. Every bill gets split. I would suggest being an LLC, but that's just me. Every bill gets split. Their wives have great off the farm jobs. They're using dad's equipment, which is fantastic. We got to their loans, and they have some land loans, and they're 10-year loans. And I said, why did you do a 10-year loan? Well, we don't want to pay the bank interest. Got it. Fantastic. We don't need to pay the bank interest. But we are giving them liquid money. I said, you're paying more than you need to every year. What if we could redirect those dollars? Now when some more land comes up, you can buy them. You can buy some more sheep. You can buy some more cows. You can farm, you can, rent some more ground. But we're limiting what we have because we're giving all this equity to the bank. That's great if we don't need it. But if we need it and we want to expand and the bank loan is 3%, can we leave it at the bank, give them less? And I said, what happens if the majority of their income was going back into the farming operation and their wives were creating the living expenses or the money for living? I said, what happens if one of your wives gets hurt and they can't work? And the one wife was in the background going, And I said, okay, and here's another thing. You guys don't have any debt besides this land. No, we pay cash for everything else. Pay cash for operating. Okay? I said, what'd you buy recently for cash? Oh, we bought, 2 side-by-sides. Okay? We're talking, and I said, you need to pay yourself back for those side-by-sides. And I said, is there anything that you're going to be doing in the near future? Buying anything? More animals? More ground? No, we're building a shop. I said, is that with cash? Yep, $30,000. So in the last year, they've put $40,000 of cash into their operation. I said, are you going to pay that back? That makes sense that we would pay that back. And the wife is back there like, And I said, and then we talked about their mom and dad give them money for a 401k because mom and dad have a corporation. And so mom and dad give them money for a 401k. And I said, well, why would you put money in a 401k? If you guys want to buy land and expand and have to buy out your folks at some point or your uncle at some point, why would you be putting money in a 401k? That's not liquid. That's at risk. oh, that makes sense. Again, one of the three, one read the book. And the wife of the one who was there, I said, it's the same as you with your off the farm job. I said, you have a really good off the farm job. Are you putting money into a 401k? She said, no, they're giving me 3%, but I don't put anything there. And I said, really? And she said, nope. I listened to a podcast that said we need to pay ourselves. And so she said, I'm putting, I don't remember what it was about 10 grand a year in a savings account. And that is her retirement. And I was astonished. Like, she got it and she didn't even read the book because she has been educating herself and listening to all this stuff. And the boys haven't been because they're busy doing their thing. Put some earbuds in, put some podcasts on, and educate yourself. Quit listening to talk radio, which does nothing but increase your blood pressure, right? Education, education, education. We are not going to be better at what we do if we become complacent. There's no reason for that. Or as Nelson would call it, the arrival syndrome. But that was a fun phone call. Because the wife basically knew what I was talking about and she didn't read the book. All right, and then I had a 21-year-old. Oh gosh, I love my young people. I had a 21-year-old that is an electrician. He does not farm. His parents farm. He doesn't know if he's going to want to go back to the farm. And it helps to be 21 and single. But not only is he 21 and single, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't go to the bar. He is Mr. Frugal, and he is saving all of his money because he's going to start his own electric business where he is the owner of the business, and he knows that I have to do this for 2 years, I have to do this for about 2 or 3 years, and then I can start, and my boss is going to be retiring in about 5 years, and he is paying attention. So everybody that tells me that these young people are awful, oh, you know how I feel about this. I love them because the ones that come to me are amazing. But what was even most amazing about this kid is when he's on the job site doing electrical stuff, he is watching the employees. He knows who's the whiner. He sees them talking about the journeyman, talking about the other journeyman behind their back. He sees them milking the clock and understands that that is going to hurt the boss. Understands that that hurts the person that they're working for because it takes longer to get the job done. But he said, when we don't have a job to go to again right away, oh, now all of a sudden, instead of a 15-minute break, we might be taking an hour. And they're milking the clock. He's like, the amount of money that's costing my boss to be 21 years old and to see that, even though he may have been told that, to see that and to understand that is huge. And to know that that's not right. There is a difference between an employee and a business owner. And whatever this kid does, he's going to be successful. No questions asked. He has money to start the policy. He's going to put as much away as he can. He understands he should start one on dad because if something happens to dad, he is going to have to go home and take over the ranch and clean everything up. And he might be buying some cows to ranch with. So he has vision. He understands all that. He has no student loans. He has no pickup payment. All he has is rent and groceries. He is beating Parkinson's law. And what does Nelson say? If you can beat Parkinson's law, you are already one step ahead of your peers. This kid is leaps and bounds ahead of his peers and people that are older than him. Right? His elders aren't this good. Because he has beat Parkinson's law. He understands that. Where that comes from, I don't know. But it was super exciting to see. And it was fun to just talk to him about work and how everything is going. And to see that, like, I could look back. When I was talking to him, I looked back at when I was about his age, I was working for a company and I was watching the employees. And I remember one time we got ice cream, and there were like 300 employees at this company. We got ice cream, and all the other employees were, oh, that's all they gave us? Oh my gosh. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of money. Like, that's a lot of ice cream. There's like 300 people here. And I went up to the manager and I thanked her for the ice cream. And she said nobody had thanked her for it. Nobody. Are you kidding me? Why should anybody do anything nice for you if you can't even appreciate it? Or if you do appreciate it, why do you remain silent about it and not share that, right? But I already had the knowledge to know that that was expensive. They didn't need to do that for us. We got an extra break, right? We didn't have to be on the clock. We didn't have to punch out for that. That was a total treat. But some people have it and some people don't. But people working for other people, when you're milking the clock, guess what? You're not getting a bonus. You're not getting anything. You're hurting your boss in the end. It was so awesome to see a 21-year-old get it. So awesome. And he works. And he's like, yeah, there's another kid my age that came out of school. He's like, half the time he disappears. You don't even know where he's at. He's like, if I was the boss, I'd can him. You got those guys. You got them. All right. Hey, Bruce. Amy, I do help people in Louisiana. If you have purchased the book, you are getting email links and my calendar is in there. So go ahead and schedule a time. Do I need to request a balance sheet? Brian, I don't know. I would request, if you're not keeping your own books, I would get started on that and put those all in there right away. Put them all in an Excel spreadsheet or something so you know what you owe and when the payments are due, to manage it just to see. But as far as like the ratio of debt to equity ratio, every bank is a little bit different. I don't know how that is. I'd definitely be questioning it, that's for sure. You are right, Brian. I know, doesn't he? It's so awesome. Okay. Other than that, I had another fabulous 22-year-old start a policy today, so that was exciting. You guys, I have not ran an average of my client's age, like probably in the last year, but I'm gonna have to redo it because my average age before was about 42. And I think I just keep dropping. I'm not sure. I have done a lot of 69, 68, in that age group as well. But the amount of young people really looking to do things differently is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I think that we need to welcome that as the next generation. We need to look at that with some open eyes. Doesn't mean we don't have to be cautious. It just means we need to be looking at it and saying, is there some credibility here? Because I don't think we're giving that younger generation enough credit. Now, if they don't know their numbers, okay, that's a different story. But a lot of my younger people that come in do know their numbers. And they have to, because they have goals of what they want. And there's so many older people around them that are going to be selling. They know they're preparing themselves to buy. So it's very cool. Okay, tomorrow's podcast is about putting all your income through a policy and why maybe that is not going to be possible on day one. It's about a system of policies. Okay, here are the books. You can go to farmingwithoutthebank.com, grab the books there. Remember, Christmas is coming, and so if you have non-farm family members and you don't know what to get them for Christmas, Wealth Without the Bank or Wall Street is a very good option. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, please email me, Mary Jo at Without the Bank. I would be very happy to answer those for you, or you can message me here on Facebook whatever works for you works for me. All right, let's see, Steve. Ah, yes, you do. I love those young ones. Okay, you guys have a good night. Thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.